So, my story, I became a paranormal investigator a long time ago. I've always been interested in it. Ghostbusters is probably my favorite movie. But I got into it because when I was 5, my father actually died of cancer, jaw cancer. And so there's nothing they could do because it was like so close to his brain already. And so he passed away when I was very young. And he was always interested in ghosts and, other phenomenon and, psychic research and aliens. And he was already into all this stuff. So it naturally just kind of went along to me. And especially because I didn't want to think that he was just gone. I had to know that, or I had to at least try to find if there is any kind of afterlife. And so pretty much the death of my father is really why I wanted to start looking for paranormal and life after death. So at the end of the day, being a paranormal investigator, I think the thing that matters to me the most, not only evidence, but integrity to capture and present evidence in a professional way that people can understand it and start to change their mind. Like, oh, okay, maybe there are some things out there that I can't fully explain. But, the funny thing is people won't ever really believe until they go looking for it themselves. So, but in the meantime, we're the only link between people at home and the paranormal and evidence of it or lack of it. So you have to have integrity and just present what you find the best that you can. So I would say probably the one thing that I really hope to achieve with all the work that I've been doing in this field is if I could just take one person who's a firm, non-believer, and if I could just show them one piece of evidence that could maybe not change their mind even, but just plant the seed of maybe there is something else out there, something that I don't understand. So if you were to ask me, it's perfectly healthy to be skeptical. We all should be skeptical. As an investigator, it's our job to say, why is this not a spirit doing something? Rather than to just jump straight to, oh, that's a ghost. Let's come up with a bunch of theories as to why this is a ghost. It's the complete opposite. We should all be skeptical. But to just flat out be a non-believer is, you're just closing yourself off to any possibility of an answer. So you're already determining that the answer is no. So I don't want to change a skeptic's mind, because we need skeptics. But I would love to take a firm non-believer, show them something that will turn them into a skeptic, if that makes sense. So I know Jimmy's probably going to hate me for this, but when I usually get some of my best evidence, it's usually on video, it's orbs or some other mysterious shape. I've caught lots of strange shapes of lights that they're not always orb shaped. I've caught some that look like musical notes. I've caught some that look like dragonflies, like in a person's home. I catch a lot of really weird light anomalies that I really can't explain. I catch them inside, outside, night vision, white light. I don't know what they are, but I catch a lot of really weird like lights. And the other type of evidence that I'm known for catching a lot of are SB7 spirit box voices. But I only, after a while, I've decided to only use it in an area that has absolutely no radio interference at all. Like, my last big one was at the Villisca Axe House. That is in such a remote area of Iowa that it doesn't even get radio, normal radio. It doesn't get any kind of radio. So when I'm using that and I'm hearing like little kids' voices coming through the box, like giggling and things like that, that's when I love the SB7. And that's why I get a lot of evidence with it, but only in areas where it can't get radio. So, yeah, the two kinds of evidence I get the most: strange balls of light on video and spirit box voices. So here's the thing I'll say about fake evidence. I think it's okay if you put a disclaimer at the beginning saying that this is for entertainment purposes only, this is not real, this is fictionalized. But when you're going out there in the world and you're posting evidence that you know for a fact is false, and you're just like clout chasing paranormal, and you're just trying to make a name for yourself or get attention, you're really like doing so much damage to the paranormal community, more damage than you'll ever really realize. Because the amount of real evidence that we're trying to put out to, raise awareness about, paranormal and what's out there, and then it just takes like one fake ghost video or one fake Photoshop image to like just undo all the work that we're doing. So it's really awful to be falsifying anything and passing it off as real, because we're never going to get to where we're trying to get with all this fake falsified evidence. We're just never going to, no one's ever going to believe in ghosts ever because of all the fakery. And at the end of the day, everyone's just going to have to go out and look for ghosts themselves and find one to even believe in it anymore. So, yeah, fake evidence, it's a real problem. I'll give you a good example about how all the fake videos and images out there are affecting real investigators. When I put out anything ghost tapes that I have back in my heyday, I would get thousands and thousands of comments on every video I've ever posted about people saying, oh, this is bullshit, this is fake, this is crap, and they're leaving paragraphs of descriptions about how I faked it. And I mean, it sucks, yeah, but it just makes me laugh because I know it's real. So you can really see the damage that fake evidence is doing when people will see real, legitimate evidence in front of their face and they just won't believe it. They won't even have the open mind to believe in it anymore, because instead of opening people's minds, what you've done is you've created a barrier and you've made them close-minded now, and they'll probably never believe. There's so many different ways to falsify evidence. A lot of ways can be done completely on accident. Maybe, you didn't even mean to. But for all the cases of people who are intentionally trying to create false evidence, it's always for the same reason. They want attention. And that's it. They want attention. So being involved with the paranormal and being an investigator for all these years, I have to say that it hasn't really changed much of how I see things or what I believe in, but I definitely know that the paranormal exists and it can be captured and it can be found if you look for it. Because the one thing I would say is I've always believed in an afterlife. I've always been very spiritual and religious like that. But how is there an afterlife and how does it interact with us if it does? And so I guess what I would say, it helped me realize that there is an afterlife in the way that I believe it's there, in the way of spirits making contact with the living after passing on, whether it's conscious energy or subconscious energy. I definitely know that there are ghosts, and with the right tools and with the right frame of mind, you can go out and you can speak to them. Some of the biggest challenges that investigators face today, not only with all the other people making up fake bullshit evidence, but getting the trust of property owners and homeowners and like actually finding places that'll allow you to come and investigate, like finding a business that that will let you film there after hours, or having a neighbor who would let you in to investigate their home. I can't tell you how many places I've wanted to investigate and just haven't yet, either because they won't let me, or I don't know. A lot of times I won't even get a call back. And so when I do get someone on the phone, they'll think I was joking, or they'll think I'm like a prank caller. So yeah, part of the toughest thing for investigators is just finding a place to investigate. Because a lot of times that's why they'll just wind up in a cemetery, because it's free and it's public, and no one will tell them to leave until after sunset. So getting in a good investigation location is definitely one of the hardest challenges. The other thing I would say is consistency. If you're going to be an investigator and you're going to continuously document what you find and what you capture, you have to be consistent with it. If you don't catch something on a whole investigation, then that's what you got. You got nothing that time, and you can't. So yeah, another challenge that investigators face is, what do they get when they don't get anything? Because when you do get something, it's such a rush. It's such an amazing rush. And when you go back and investigate it, even further at your own pace at home, and it does hold up, and that's even more exciting. And it kind of works in the opposite way. When you don't get something during the investigation, the temptation to just make something up is sometimes unbearable. But you have to be honest and you have to be consistent. Always tell the truth and don't make shit up. I don't think I'd say anything to them. I mean, they know what they're doing.
Keep going.
They know what they're doing and they don't care. So, I mean, they know what they know the damage that they're doing to the community. I mean, especially when they get discovered for faking. It's like, at the end of the day, they just don't care. They just want to fuel whatever narrative is giving them attention. And I wouldn't say anything to them, as I don't talk to people like that. It's like hell. It's like being in a pit. It's just it's awful. You can't have that person in your life anymore. I won't have people who don't tell the truth around me. I won't have them as friends, and when I do have a friend or acquaintance or someone close to me in some capacity who I've found to have lied, I mean, it hurts. It hurts, and it's confusing. It's why? Like, why lie? So what I've learned by having people around me that you can't trust, you have to sharpen your trust. You have to guard yourself a little better. You have to not be quite so trusting or open to believe people so much right away. That's something I've always struggled with, because I always assume the best of people. So it's tough. I have to be, because it touches on investigating as well. You have to be really careful who you have in your circle and who you associate with, and not just with ghost hunting, but in life in general. You have to choose your friends and your company very wisely, because once that trust is destroyed with someone, it can't be rebuilt again. And it actually makes it harder for you to trust other people who are completely trustworthy. So it also makes you kind of a bitter and calloused person. So, it always sucks when we discover that we can't trust somebody, but at the same time, it's a life experience, and it's something that everyone needs to learn once in their life, I think. So right away at the beginning of day 3, we were getting set up, getting our equipment ready, and Jimmy was, I don't know what he was doing. He was doing something funny, so I wanted to catch it on video, but he stopped, and I didn't. But I caught something else instead. We caught this really cool EVP, or what I and Jimmy, we believe it's an EVP. But it's cool because it was captured with a DSLR camera, and that's not a tool you typically see in the field catching EVPs. And it was also cool that if Jimmy wasn't dancing, I probably wouldn't have gotten it as quickly as I did. So that's a cool way to start off the last day. So on day 3, we kind of ran into a bit of a scenario that sooner or later all paranormal investigators find themselves in, where they all, huddle together in a room and they set up all these elaborate things. Like sometimes it's balloons. Here, Kent set up a balloon and one of those static globes that can pick up static energy in the room. And other times, a couple days before, we tried the S&O box and setting EMF meters on the bed, and I've found myself in this spot dozens of times where you set up all of this intricate stuff. You got a laser grid, and you got EM pumps and EMF meters, and then nothing happens. It's just a bunch of stuff in a room and nothing happens. But that happens sometimes, and it's nothing you can do. Just move on. Just a funny, quick little moment while we were doing this double Estes method. We can hear Kent is asking them if it's okay that Jimmy and I are in the house, or if they want us to get out. Should we leave? Do they want us to leave? That might have been a little bit of Kent maybe projecting what he wanted into his questions, maybe unconsciously. So after Jimmy and I tried the Estes method together, we didn't get a whole lot. There was a moment where we may have caught an orb, but after Jimmy and I went and had mixed results, we thought it would be good if Kent tried it, and for Jimmy and myself to kind of ask the questions and see what answers Kent came up with. And Kent was just talking the whole time. I kind of thought it was interesting that he could hear what it was saying when we were wearing our headphones, but when he was wearing the headphones, I couldn't hear anything. And then the other thing is, I know a few times Jimmy plugged the spirit box into an audio recorder so we could have a clean recording of what was being said in the spirit box for the people who couldn't hear it. And I don't think we had it hooked up when Kent had his turn, because if he did, I would be very curious to listen to the raw recording of what came out of his spirit box. So when you're trying to analyze orbs, you definitely need to be careful, because there are such things as dust particles, there are bugs, there are light reflections that come from car headlights outside bouncing off of a street sign through your window. There are lots of things you need to be careful about. But I really like this one because it has kind of all of like the hallmarks of an orb. It doesn't, it's not with a group of them. It's just one single one, and it's nothing really seems to have like set it off, and it's kind of big. It's kind of a big orb. And they have characteristics about them. They have a size, a shape, like a density, a speed, maybe a path that they move along. And the way that this particular one was interacting in the room, it looked very similar to the one that we saw a couple days ago on the first day. So throughout the making of the documentary, Jimmy has stumbled upon ways that Kent could have potentially preloaded some choice words into the dictionary of the tool, and has likely been having it play words that it's been hearing most recently as a way to, shuffle it to the top of the deck to make it more likely to be heard. But this one phrase that it said is Uncle Tickle. And what's weird about that is Jimmy has another YouTube channel where he plays video games and does reviews and console mods and all these other things. But in this episode that we did together, he refers to a character as Uncle Tickle Fingers. And so for the Ovilus to be reading a couple of those words to us, and Kent's dumbfounded. You could look on his face and he thinks he's trying to say Uncle Kill. But this is fascinating, because this is some extra credibility of the Ovilus saying things that nobody could have or probably wouldn't have chosen to pre-program into the device. So I thought this was really something. Okay, well, we've had some massive, what I think would be a massive breakthrough in this documentary. As Jimmy is interviewing me, as we're still reviewing footage of the movie as it's still being made. Right now, he and I saw something at the exact same time that I'm having a very hard time explaining. It appears to be a shadow darting from the kitchen dining area where I'm standing, and it seems to shoot back into the bathroom in the room behind it. And it's the only shadow that moves. If it was like, because I know Jimmy has a light and he's pointing it at Kent, and so could it have been Kent's arm or, the bill of his hat or something like that? I don't think so, because you would be seeing his entire shadow. You wouldn't see this teeny tiny blob of a shadow. And besides, you would see all of the other shadows in the room move with it. And right at the exact same time that this shadow darts from one room to another, a voice comes through on the spirit box that we all heard, and we all repeated it at the same time: basement. So this shadow is trying to get us into the basement. And I just think what's really amazing is this is the one thing I wanted to see throughout my whole career as a paranormal investigator. I wanted to see the apparition. And now here it is, my camera pointing right at it. I didn't see anything with my eyes. But what made me want to turn my camera in that direction right at the same time that this shadow is passing through? I've never caught anything like that as long as I've been an investigator. And I have to say, I think I owe Kent an apology, because Shadow Man does exist and we caught him. He's just not the exact Shadow Man that we've been seeing in his other videos. So I have to say I'm very excited by this. So after hearing through the spirit box the word basement, we took to the basement, and we felt like something was trying to, get us down there. And once we got down to the basement, a lot of really weird stuff started happening. We started hearing a lot of voices. A lot of voices that somehow we didn't record them. They didn't get recorded. We had multiple cameras, an audio recorder, and none of them got captured. But we could hear them very, very clearly. And I'm 80% deaf in my left ear. So my hearing is atrocious. And when I can hear something right behind me, and Jimmy and I heard the same thing come from the same part of the basement, and Kent didn't hear anything. For once, Jimmy and I almost had a completely independent encounter from Kent. So that itself was really exciting. And then we heard more voices. It kept saying help, from what I remember. A woman's voice saying help. And then I think there was another voice that said me. And it's a real shame that none of it got captured, because we could all hear them like plain as day. That was some of the strongest voices I've heard during my time being an investigator. Those are the loudest voices I've heard. So the thing that was really exciting about hearing the voices in the basement is I'm like half deaf, like clinically half deaf in one of my ears, and so I really can't hear very well. So when I can hear like the quietest voice, in a basement, that was also heard by Jimmy, but was not heard by Ken, but was not heard by Kent. I think that was something really powerful, because knowing Kent, if he has been faking all this stuff like we've been, expounding upon, you'd think he would, raise his hand and say, oh yeah, I heard that. It said this and this and this, and, probably try to get us to believe something else. But I think it's really interesting that he honestly said he didn't hear it. And I know I heard it, and I know Jimmy heard it. And I think that's what probably excites me about that the most, that Jimmy and I had an experience together in the same room as Kent, yet separate from him. I think that was a powerful moment. The other thing, at one point, there was a thump, what sounded like to be in the room above us. I don't really remember this happening that much, but I remember thinking that it just sounded like one of the cats jumping down from the couch. Because I remember we even saw the cats on the couch when we were going down to the basement, and when Kent went up to investigate the noise, he said that the cats were in the kitchen. So we know they jumped down, and as a cat owner, I know they make noise when they land. But, again, I have terrible hearing, so I probably just didn't hear it as well as Jimmy and Kent did, so it just didn't wow me that much. So at the end of the day, I know how I feel about Kent and the situation of what's real and what isn't real. And we know how a lot of other people feel about it as well. All the people that Jimmy's been in contact with, people who've contacted us, and people who are finding the documentary already, and it's not even finished yet. And, we have a really good idea of how everyone feels about everything. Except Jimmy. I don't think Jimmy has had the easiest time trying to navigate his way through this documentary, because at the beginning, when we went into this, we were both just had the simple purpose of making a really scary paranormal investigation documentary. And as the web, so to say, kind of started unraveling itself, Jimmy's had to come to terms with a lot of harsh truths, a lot of things I'm sure that he was not expecting. There's two things I know that Jimmy really does not like. He does not like liars, and he does not like it when you treat him as if he's stupid. And when you try to put these facades to him and this fake evidence that some of the things have come to light, you're going to get a different Jimmy than the one you started with. I can't even imagine what this would be like for him. Just like being in touch with Kent for so long as he was before the movie even started. They built like this whole relationship together before they even met. And then we get there and we film the thing, and it's like you can slowly see the thread being pulled. And little by little, you can start to see more of what's behind the curtain. And I don't think Jimmy was expecting there to be a curtain or anything behind it. Neither did I. Took me a little bit of time. As Jimmy was telling me all these things, I questioned them. I'm like, what? But it started to make sense the more and more he put things together. And at the time of making this film, it's not just Kent who's been, revealed to be something more than what we originally thought of him, but a lot of other people that Jimmy has been looking up to, like other content creators on YouTube, similar things have been happening to them. And so I know Jimmy, he does this because he wants to help people who actually believe and who do this for the right reasons. And so to go into it with all these good intentions and then to have it twisted on you, like right when you're in the middle of it. Yeah. I have to say that this whole experience with Jimmy has been one of the most memorable things I've ever done in my life. With all the investigations I've done prior to this and will do after this, this was really something special, and I'm so honored I could have been a part of it with him. Everything that I experienced in that house, I know you can't fake. There are real spirits in that house. Kent is tormented by a lot of stuff. That's for sure. So why does he feel the need to make things up? He doesn't need to. Everything that he wants is already there. Maybe it is just for attention. Maybe it's for his YouTube channel and notoriety. But the things we've witnessed in that house are real. You don't need to fake anything. Everything that you want to fake is already out there. You just have to go find it. I think Jimmy and I found it. I've already gotten everything I wanted out of this. I just wanted to help Jimmy make a really awesome movie. I wanted to help Jimmy make the best documentary that he could make. I wanted to go on a paranormal investigation with him. I wanted to meet Kent. I wanted to see the Lamb House. I wanted to see Maine. I wanted to eat lobsters. And we did all that. And now I hope Jimmy gets out of it what he's looking for out of it. It's still going on. It's not finished yet. I really hope this takes him wherever he wants to go, and I would be more than happy to continue helping him make these and go wherever he wants to take it in whatever direction that is. Probably the most important thing I've learned, not just during the investigation, but through all of it, the pre-production, the traveling, the post-production, all this, like, all these post interviews that are still going on with people. Everything has pretty much boils down to one main takeaway for me, and that's just, you can't trust everyone. So be careful. That's what I've learned.